a sukkah, the walls of the sukkah are allowed to be built by a non-Jew. The schach itself really should be put up by a Jew. B'diavad, if a guy put it up, it's b'diavad kosher. But l'chatchila, to begin with, a Jew needs to put up the schach. Now let's say a guy puts up the schach and you want to make it better, you don't have to take off the whole schach and put it back on. What you could do, you could take a broom and go underneath the sukkah and pick up the schach, 3 inches all over the place, and that's considered as if you put down the schach. Now what is good for schach? What's good for schach is anything that grows from the ground and is not susceptible to tumah, meaning it's not considered a vessel. If it's a vessel, even though at one time it was a vessel, now it's not a vessel anymore, it's still considered non-kosher schach.
What do you mean a vessel?
So wait a minute. So you have, let's say, the easiest things are like leaves, palm branches, or those types of things. Lately it became the whole style to use the mats for schach. They're very easy. They keep from year to year and so on and so forth. The issue with the mats, so if you buy mats that have a hechsher on it, so then it's not a problem. If you buy mats, let's say from Home Depot, so the thing is like this. Shulchan Aruch discusses mats, but years ago, what the mats were for, they actually people used to lay on them. Like a hammock by the trees, they used to put mats and people would lay on them. Now if you lay on them, then they become a vessel. That's what a vessel is. You're using something with it. So then it would be a vessel, then it wouldn't be kosher for schach. But today, most of them are not made for that. And most of them are made actually as curtains. Now because nobody is sitting on them, laying on them, or they're not things that you put things into, technically they're kosher. But there's a lot of issues. I don't want to get into all the issues. If you have, let's say, if the bamboo mat is held together by metal. So yesterday we learned that you can't have metal holding up the schach. Okay? Or some type of twined rope, or it could also be a shaila if it's makabel tumah or not. But the thing is like this: the way the mats go, if you want to do it correctly, the way the mats go, if the mats are just hanging themselves, it's a problem because then the metal is holding up the mat because it's holding them together. But if you have 2x4s in the sukkah and the mat is resting on the 2x4, that without the 2x4 the mat would fall down. So then what's really holding up the schach is the 2x4, which is wood, which is not a problem. So therefore, if the mats are put in such a way that the 2x4s are holding up the mats completely, then it's fine. But you have to make sure that that's actually holding it up, and if not, it would fall down. Now, how much schach must you have? The minimal amount of schach, which is really the sukkah, has to be that in this room now that you have a sukkah with schach on top of it, you need to have more shade than sun. If you have more sun than shade, it's not kosher. Chabad, the custom is to put a lot of schach. And so it's with the Rabbein, more. And they said, because what's the maximum amount of schach? The maximum amount of schach is, there's two things: that you can't see the sky, which by the way, even if you have the sky, you take a pole and stick it through, you can see the sky, or that rain can't come in. An average rain wouldn't be, it's so loaded with schach, an average rain wouldn't come in. But when you have these leaves or whatever they are, when it rains into the sukkah. So that's not a problem. But the minimum amount of schach that you need is there should be more shade than sun. Okay, that's the main thing of the schach. Another important thing, by the way, in making a sukkah, the Torah says you have to make a sukkah. Making a sukkah means you have to make it, it cannot become made. What does that mean? What happens if somebody, just to give a simple example, you have a canvas sukkah, so you have the frame, the metal frame. So what happens? You put up the frame, and then you put the schach on. And then after you put the schach on, you put up the walls. Then you put up the walls. That schach is not kosher. That sukkah is not kosher. Because the schach has to make the sukkah, it cannot become made. Here, when you put up the schach first, and then you put up the walls, so then when you put up the walls, the schach is becoming made as a kosher sukkah. And that's not good enough. The schach has to make it kosher.
So,
Therefore, one second. Therefore, let's say they don't have them in California because California doesn't rain usually sukkahs. But in New York, a lot of sukkahs, because it rains a lot, so they have, these awnings over the porch that when you're not sitting in the sukkah, they cover the sukkah, that when it rains, you're not going to get sopping wet. And then when you need to sit in the sukkah, you take off the roll-up awning. If somebody would build the sukkah while the awning is covering the sukkah, so the awning is down, and then you make up your sukkah. So right now it's not a kosher sukkah because it's not under the sky, it's under the awning. And then you pick up the awning, the sukkah would not be kosher. Because again, you have to make the sukkah, you can't have it be, what?
so let's say you're making your sukkah with a couple other people, okay? And they're putting the last cords on there. And at the same time, you're putting on the first schach.
As long as the sukkah is already kosher, really, as long as the walls are kosher, so then it doesn't
Even
matter.
if you haven't completely
Correct.
put on the, okay.
Let's say you make a
Good.
mobile inside the garage.
Huh? If you make a sukkah mobile inside the garage and then you pull it out from the garage, you're taking that kosher.
And you just use a broomstick to pick up the schach?
Yeah, I mean, again, the schach is not kosher, so then you need to redo the schach. And like we said, you don't have to take it all off and put it back on. You take a broom and you pick up the schach and you put it back down. Yeah, but I'm saying the sukkah as is not kosher. If you redo the schach, either by taking or putting it back on, or easier is just picking up with a broom all over the place, picking it up. Yeah, then it's good.
I don't know if you go on a ladder and you adjust it, or
You have to actually pick it up and adjust it. I mean, you can't just, it has to be picked up in tefach. Huh? Not a kinyan. You have to pick it up and put it back down.
Does the stop have to be 30 feet? Or just the wall 30 feet if you go higher with the stop?
No, the schach cannot be more than 30 feet from the floor.
Never seen like that.
It's rare. I mean, who wants such a sukkah? But it could happen. I mean, that's the bottom line. It does happen. Okay.